So we're going to start with multiplying fractions just because it's a little bit easier than dividing fractions. Once you know how to divide fractions, life does become a little easier. But let's have a look at our multiplying fractions. So guys, when we multiply fractions, what we need to be mindful of is that we're asking for a portion of something that is already representing a part of a whole. So for example, here we've got the multiplication, a half of 2/5. So this is saying to me, it means half of 2/5. So I've already got 2 parts out of 5, which is represented here with these rectangles. I now want half of that. So if I divide this in half, it's like a galaxy pen. If I divide this in half, I'm applying this half situation. And I now only want half of what has been shaded in. So that's why I've only got 2 of these rectangles that I'm considering, because I want half of what I originally started with. And so because I've divided the rectangles in half, I now have 10 rectangles. I had 5, I now have 10. And I'm only considering 2 of them because that's half of what was shaded in. And so that's where I get my numerator 2 from. Now, once we've done this, we know we can simplify our fractions. The point of this more is to see that when we multiply fractions, we're looking for parts of something that already represents a part. And so what it generally means is that we're going to end up with fraction answers. Now, we know we always want to simplify. We'll get to simplification in a second, which is what the statement is saying. But we also want a way of doing this that we don't have to draw pictures and we don't have to divide blocks into halves and quarters and eighths and all the rest of it. We want a nice, easy way to be able to deal with these. So we're going to have a look at some examples and see how we actually multiply fractions. I'm just going to wait here in case anyone does want a screenshot of these notes before we move to the examples. So I'll just wait here for like 5 seconds. And then we'll have a look at our example. Okay, so if we have a look at example A here, we have got 4 times 3/7. Now, the first thing I always do is I always write everything as a fraction. So this whole number 4, I'm going to write as a fraction of 4/1. You don't have to. And once you become more comfortable with fractions, you probably won't need to. But it does make the beginning stages of multiplying fractions a little bit easier. So we've got 4/1 times 3/7. Now, when I multiply with fractions, all I need to do is I need to multiply the numerators together, and I need to multiply my denominators together. So that's 4 times 3 in the numerator and 1 times 7 in my denominator. That is all I do when I multiply fractions. Multiply top with top, bottom with bottom. We know that 4 times 3 is 12, and 1 times 7 is 7. And so we have multiplied our 2 fractions, and we've gotten 12/7. Now, guys, remember, always check if you can simplify. You can simplify. We do that by seeing if there is any number we can divide into both the numerator and the denominator. So it's almost like looking for a highest common factor. In this case, there is nothing I can divide into 12 and 7 without a remainder. So that's why I've underlined this as my final answer. It's as simple as it gets. I can't simplify it any further. So 12/7 is my answer. Right, so when multiplying with fractions, literally multiply everything in the numerator, multiply everything in the denominator, double check if you can simplify, and that's it. Right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave that on just so you can see what's happening, but I want you to try example B for me. So example B is 2/5 times 1/8. Give it a try. Put your answers in the chat when you have them. I don't want to see any hands yet. And remember, guys, you need to simplify, right? If you don't simplify, you will not get full marks. Okay, Mduna, I do see your message in the chat, but remember we focus on what our topic is for the day. So if you want to do revise, if you want to go and revise, go and have a look on Watobe's website, and you can go and find past videos there revising all the topics that we've done. Right, guys, I'm seeing some awesome answers. Would anyone like to raise their hand to explain how they did question B? I will come back to A in case you want to take screenshots, but let's first have a look at this. Guguletu, would you like to help me with B? There should be a pop-up to unmute yourself. There we go.
Hi, ma'am.
Hi.
Are you good?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm fine. I realized, ma'am, that I just made a mistake. Sorry.
Okay, do you want to try or should I ask someone else?
I can try. God.
That's what I like to hear.
Let's go, Google.
So, ma'am, I said 2 times 1 is 2. Then I said 5 times 8 is 40, and then which is equals to 2 over 40. Then then I don't know.
Okay, can you simplify this? Can you divide a number into 2 and 40?
Yes, it's 2. Then it's gonna be 1 over 20.
Excellent. There you go.
Well done. You nailed it. You see? Confidence. Confidence, Google. Well done.
Okay, guys, there you have it. So multiply your numerators together. So 2 times 1. This whole pen situation is really throwing me off. It's not what I'm used to. 2 times 1, 5 times 8, which is exactly what's going on here. You multiply them together and then you simplify. Now, just so that we're all aware, you don't have to do it like this. Personally, I don't really multiply fractions like this. I do a method called cross-canceling. Please excuse this weird galaxy pen thing I have going on here. We're just going to roll with it. Cross-canceling. Okay, so to show you how this works, I'm just going to rewrite my question. And I prefer this method personally. So 2 over 5 times 1 over 8. Now, when we cross-cancel, what we want to check for is to cancel values. So cancel top with bottom, sorry. Cancel top with bottom and vice versa. So basically, we want to cancel or find a highest common factor with numbers in the top and numbers in the bottom and simplify like that. So if we have a look at the numbers here, I can work with the 2 and the 8 because I know I can divide 2 into 2 once and 2 into 8 4 times. And through this method of cross-canceling, I'm able to simplify my fractions first. Once I've cancelled, I now have a fraction 1 over 5 times 1 over 8, not over 8, sorry, 1 over 4, because I cross-cancelled. I multiply my numerators together, I multiply my denominators together, and so I've got 1 times 1 divided by 5 times 4, and that gives me 1 over 20. It is the same answer that I got earlier, so it doesn't matter how you choose to do it. It's completely up to you. But cross-canceling is, in my opinion, a way to deal with very big numbers a lot easier. So when these fractions start dealing with quite big values, I personally find cross-canceling a little bit easier. You don't have to use it. If it doesn't work for you, don't use it. I just find it a very useful method, especially as you start moving up in maths. Obviously, right now, it's not necessary to try and find shortcuts. I'm just showing you as another option. But as you start moving up in maths, cross-canceling does become quite useful. Alrighty, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to make that a touch smaller so that you can take a screenshot of both of those. And then we're going to have a look at another example. So take screenshots. If anyone has a question at this point, now is the time to ask your questions. Oh. Amasle?
Afternoon, ma'am.
Hi.
Miss, I wanted to ask Miss for A. I don't understand how you got to 12/7.
How I got, sorry, 12/7.
Yes.
Okay, so I got 12/7 because from my original fractions, do you understand why I said 4/1? Let's just start there. Matthew, do you understand why I took 4 and wrote it as 4/1? Okay, I'm going to assume yes, but basically we write our 4 as a fraction, and then we multiply 4 and 3. So 4 times 3 gave me the 12. And then I multiply my denominators. So I multiply 1 and 7, which gives me 7. So the 12 came from me multiplying the numerators together, and the 7 came from me multiplying my denominators together. Right, I hope that makes sense. Watobe, it can only go across with that method. So yes, if you mean across, cancel top with bottom, yes, you cannot cancel top and top, and you cannot cancel bottom and bottom. It has to be top and bottom. It can go either way, but it has to be top with bottom or bottom with top. Layla, question?
So, ma'am, do we not convert to mixed numbers?
You can if you want to. I personally just don't like mixed numbers.
I know
We will-
personally my teacher said that we would get it incorrect on the test.
If
but I
you
was just
didn't
wondering
convert to a mixed number.
If we convert to mixed numbers, then we would get it incorrect in the test. It has to be an improper fraction. But
No,
I'm just
it can-
asking in this class.
No, it can be anything. So I don't want to say your teacher's lying to you, but if you write it as a mixed number, it is fine, unless the instruction specifically says leave your answer as an improper fraction. In this class, I don't really mind what you choose to do. So if you want to write it as a mixed number, you're welcome to. I never do, just because I don't like mixed numbers. But this is a mixed number. It would be 1 and 5
And
over
5
7.
over 7.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.
Sure. Okay, so guys, I just want to reiterate that, because I think sometimes, and I know I myself sometimes impose my feelings about certain things in maths on my students. A mixed number and an improper fraction gives you exactly the same information. So they are both correct. The only time you should ever be marked wrong for putting your answer in a different format is if you were told to put it in a specific format. So if my question said to you, simplify the following, leaving your answer as an improper fraction, and you then convert it to a mixed number, that you will lose marks on, because I specifically said use a or convert to an improper fraction. But either way, it really doesn't matter. Like, it means exactly the same thing, whatever you want. Like I say, I don't like mixed numbers, so I generally never write them as mixed numbers, but it is the same. So I'm perfectly happy with you writing them as mixed numbers. Right, and then guys, remember, you don't have to use the cross-canceling method. I'm just giving you options of how you can deal with these things. I'm hoping that everyone has got their screenshots. We're going to move on. Let's have a look at question C here. So question C, we now have 3 values that we're multiplying. Now, this doesn't change anything. You still need to multiply, but if you want to, you can do it step by step. There's no need to try and rush and do everything all at once. This whole pen thing is freaking me out. So we've got 1/3 times 2/5 times, and remember, I always want to write the whole number as a fraction, so times 4/1. So I want you to try this by yourselves. Remember, you don't have to do everything all at once. You can, but you don't have to. If you want to multiply the first 2 fractions, get an answer, and then take that answer and multiply it by the last fraction, that's fine. Whatever you are more comfortable with. Pop your answers in the chat when you're ready. Make sure you're simplifying your answers. And just double check your multiplication. People are so loud. They're just screaming and shouting. I know you guys probably can't hear, but it's crazy. Guys, remember, if you have load shedding or network issues, we completely understand. Remember, everything's recorded. All right, so you can get the recording online and catch up what you've missed. Oops. Alrighty, anyone want to raise their hand and tell me how they did this? Wonder Wonke, help me out here.
Yes, ma'am. The thing that I did, I said that 1 times 2 times 4.
Okay,
Then 1 times 2 gave me, it gave me 2.
good.
Right? And then 2 times 4, it gave me 8. Then when it gave me 8,
Excellent.
I said 3 times 5 times 1. 3 times 5 is 15. Then I said 15 times 1 is 15. And then that's the answer because it can't be simplified.
Excellent, well done. Okay, so guys, exactly 8 over 15. We can't simplify that any further. Oh, sorry, Wonder Wonke, you can just ignore me. I'm just clicking things. We can't simplify that any further. And so we leave our answer as it is. Now, as you saw, it is perfectly fine to do everything in one go. If you're not comfortable with that and you would rather multiply the first 2 and then multiply the third, that's fine. You would say 1 over 3 times 2 over 5. Multiply your numerators, multiply your denominators. So you would have 2 over 15. And then you can multiply your third fraction. So 4 over 1. I need to stop using this silly pen. And so from there, you can then multiply 2 and 4, which is 8, and 15 times 1, which is 15. So you get exactly the same answer. So if you need to do it step by step, do it step by step. We can't divide by 2 because 15 doesn't divide evenly by 2. 15 divided by 2 is 7.5. And we never want decimals or fractions in fractions. So we can't do anything there. 8 over 15 is the simplest we can go. Right, so guys, take your screenshots. At this point, if anyone has a question, now is the time to raise your hand so I can help you before we move on to our next example. Okay, so take your screenshots. Last few seconds for any questions. Otherwise, I shall be moving on. Alrighty. Calvin, do you have a question for us? There should be a pop-up to unmute.
Yes, ma'am. Can you please re-explain because I am not really unsure about what is supposed to.
Sorry, can you say that again for me?
I am not. Can you please re-explain because I am not really unsure. I'm unsure about what you're actually supposed to do.
Okay, so all we do when we multiply is we multiply all the numbers at the top, so all my numerators together. So all of my numerators together, which is this step over here, and all of my denominators together, which is that step over there. So I'm just multiplying the numbers that I have there.
Oh, thank you, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am. All right, Takalani, question?
Ma'am, I wanted to ask, ma'am, when we dealing with multiplying fractions, ma'am, we don't have to make the denominators the same.
No, good question. So when we are multiplying and dividing with fractions, we don't need an LCD. An LCD or the same denominator is only important when we add or subtract. Okay, so guys,
Yes.
that question, sorry, Zaglani, well done. That question is very important. You do not find an LCD when you are multiplying or dividing, only when you add or subtract. Alrighty, let's do one more and then we'll take a brain break. So here's your question D. Now my only hint to you here is convert your mixed number. Once you have converted your mixed number, then you can go on to do your multiplication. But first convert this to an improper fraction. Right, so I want you to try this. I've given you a hint of where you can start. There was a question from someone about quiz results. Remember, quiz results we only do on quiz days, so you will get quiz results only on Wednesday. So yeah, Wednesday. Remember, you want to simplify. Always, always, always want to simplify, guys. If you don't simplify, you will lose marks. Just as a reminder, in case anyone's forgotten how to convert mixed numbers to improper fractions, we times the denominator by the number in front, so 2 times 3, which is 6, and we add the numerator, so 6 plus 1, which is 7. So this is an improper fraction, is 7 over 2. Okay, does anyone want to raise their hand to give me an answer here or explain how we did it? Chantal?
Ma'am, I converted the whole number into the whole number times 2 equals to 6 over 2. I mean 7 over 2 times 5 over 14, which I got 35 over 28.
Okay, and can we simplify that?
Yes, ma'am, I got 5 over 4.
Excellent, well done. Okay, so guys, there you go. We multiply the numerators together, and that was obviously after you had converted your mixed number to an improper fraction. Exactly as Chantal told us, 7 times 5 is 35, and 2 times 14 is 28. Now, both 35 and 28 can be divided by 7, so I have to simplify in order to get my 5 over 4 answer. Now, again, you can write this as a mixed number if you want. As a mixed number, this is, I'll get there in the end. This is 1 1/4, so that is absolutely fine. I've got no issues with that. Just so that you can see this cross-canceling thing in case that's something that you feel like you're doing. So for those of you asking if you can do the cross-canceling, absolutely. You would take your converted mixed number, so 7 over 2 times 5 over 14, and you can, or you will check what you can cancel top and top, top with bottom, or vice versa. So I know that I can divide 7 into 7 once and into 14 twice. And what I'm doing is I'm simplifying my fraction. So now I've got 1 over 2 times 5 over 2. And now when I multiply my numerators, I've got 1 times 5, which is 5, and 2 times 2, which is 4. Exactly the same answer. No problem whatsoever. Like I say, I prefer cross-canceling, but you don't have to do it. It's just another way that I'm giving you in case you find that easier. So guys, 5/4 is your answer. If you wrote it as 1¼ it is the same thing, but 5/4 is your answer there. Right, so take your screenshots if you need. If anyone has any questions, you may raise your hand. Thanduwetu. Yeah. Thanduwetu, there?
Hi, ma'am.
Yes. So Thanduwetu, you're lagging a little bit. I'm going to mute you. Let's see if we can fix it. Otherwise, just type your message or your question on the chat. And now, of course, I can't mute you. So let's see how we go here. Apulele, question?
Ma'am, so if you have a fraction like this, can you just say 3/1 and 1 times 2 just straight before converting? Can you do that?
Say that again for me.
Ma'am, if you have a fraction like this, can you first like multiply 2, 1 and 2 before converting, or you first have to convert?
So when you say multiply the 1 and 2, do you mean multiply 1/2 and 5/14?
No, ma'am, like, isn't you can say because it's 3, you can say 3/1.
Okay.
So ma'am, you can first say like 2 times 1 before converting, or you first have to convert. It is a must for you to convert.
You've asked a good question here. So I would say you need to convert it first. If you aren't going to convert it, then what you need to be careful of is you would need to multiply the separate parts. You'd have to say 3 times 5/14 and then 1/2 times 5/14, and then you'd have to take those two answers and add them together. And so that it creates more work than necessary. So that's why I say convert first, and then you avoid all the extra work.
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
Oh,
Thank
good
you.
question. You made my brain work there. Well done. Didn't Lee? Muted myself. Didn't Lee?
Ma'am, I wanted to ask, ma'am, is 1/4 the final answer, or 1/4 the final answer?
Yeah, so you can either write it as 1¼ so the 1 and 1/4, or you write it as 5/4. I prefer 5/4, but if you wrote it as a mixed number, that's fine.
Okay.
Alrighty. I don't know if I can say your name properly. Umtawalenga? Langa?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, question.
Ma'am, may I please ask, what we do on the top must we do on the bottom?
Sorry, start again, you lagged.
May I please ask, ma'am, what we do on the top must we do it on the bottom?
That really only applies when you're adding or subtracting fractions. So that whole idea of doing on the bottom what we do on the top and vice versa, that's when we're trying to find an LCD. And so that's when we start multiplying things. So we don't really have to stress about it here. Here we just multiply everything at the top, multiply everything at the bottom.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, good. Guguletu, question?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Ma'am, let's say for the answer of D, the answer is, before you simplify, it is 35 over 28. If you leave it like that in the test, are they gonna fault you, or is it a must to simplify? Because
It's a must to simplify. You must simplify. Okay, so guys, you have to simplify your answers. Like they will always say simplify fully. So you have to simplify your answers. And remember, to simplify, you see what you can divide both of your numerator and your denominator by. Alrighty, just then quickly in the chat, Bokamoso, we didn't leave out the half. I converted it to an improper fraction. So the half is still there in the 7 over 2. It's just now all in one improper fraction. Okay. So guys, I'm hoping while I've taken questions, you have screenshotted, because I'm about to move away. We don't have a whole lot of time for a brain break, but you guys have done really well. So I think you deserve a brain break. So let's take a quick 2-minute brain break, have a think about this question. We'll see how you go. If you don't get any answers, we'll just carry it over to Wednesday. I just want to make sure that everyone is clear on what this is saying. So here we are being told that we have 12 congruent equilateral triangles. Now we need to know what all of that means, because it's a lot of words to say that we have 12 identical, congruent means identical, equilateral triangles. And what we know about equilateral triangles is that all 3 of their sides are equal in length. So all 3 lengths are equal. It then goes on to tell us that let's just get a bit of color here, that the perimeter of the star is 36 centimeters. So if I trace around the outside of my star, I've got 36 centimeters over there. And I am asking you for the perimeter of the hexagon. So the hexagon is this middle shape that I'm outlining in green. I want to know what the perimeter of the hexagon is. Important information there is the fact that you've got 12 identical equilateral triangles. So I'm going to give you like a minute or two. I'll see if I get any of the correct answers. Otherwise, don't even have to talk. Deborah, do you want to raise your hand? Tell me how you got 18. Okay, tell us, Deborah, how did you get 18?
So the perimeter of the star is 36 centimeters. And there are 6 triangles on the outside. So 30, and there are 12 sides. So 36 divided by 12 is 3. So I worked out how many sides are in the hexagon, and there are 6, and 6 times 3 is 18.
Perfect. Excellent. So guys, there you have it, 18 centimeters, just so we're all clear on what we're doing in this first step over here. So what Deborah said was the fact that if I look at the stars making up the yellow perimeter, I've got 12 equal lengths because my triangles are making up the star. So I've got 12 equal lengths, which is why I can divide the perimeter by 12. And that then tells me that one length of my triangle is 3 centimeters. And because they're equilateral triangles, that then means that the green lengths are also 3 centimeters. And so I can then go from there to work out what my perimeter is. Very nice. Well done. You got that so quickly. I have to sit and think about these sometimes. Okay, guys. I hope you've all just gotten up, had a stretch, because I'm about to do some division of fractions. And this is where things become a little bit more complicated. So we need to focus. So let's have a look. So now, guys, a reminder, we never need a common denominator when we are multiplying or dividing with fractions. That's what that's saying there. And I'm just going to add in here when we divide or when we multiply. We only need an LCD when we add or subtract. All right, so that's very important. So now we're going to chat about division and what does division mean? So division is asking us how many times can we fit a certain value into another. So, excuse me, if I've given you the expression 3 divided by a quarter, I'm essentially asking you, how many quarters do I need to make up 3 wholes? And we can see this in the picture here. Here are my 3 wholes. I've divided them up into quarters to figure out how many quarters I need. And so 1 whole is 4 quarters, 2 wholes is another 4, 3 is another 4. So in total, I've got 12 quarters making up my 3 whole numbers or whole values. Now, again, this is great to like visualize it for ourselves, but we want to be able to do this mathematically without having to draw pictures. So there's a way that we can do that we now need to be mindful of. Now, like it says it all here in the box, but I'm going to give you some little rhymes or little phrases to help you. So basically what we do is we change the division sign to a multiplication sign, and we flip the fraction that comes after the division sign. And this allows us to essentially work with a format that we're comfortable with. We know how to multiply fractions. And so we flip the fraction, we change the sign, and we can then go and deal with our fractions there. So I'll wait 2 seconds in case you want to screenshot this. But you can see that by changing the sign and flipping the fraction, so changing the division to a multiplication and flipping the 1/4 to 4/1, I get those 12 quarters. So it's not changing what I'm doing, it's just making it a little bit easier for me to actually be able to do this without a calculator. Obviously, if you had a calculator, you type it in and off you go. But we need to be able to do this without a calculator. Alrighty, so let's have a look at an example. I'm going to work the first one with you, and then you can try one by yourselves. So let's have a look at example A here. We've got 1/5 divided by 3/10. Now, there's 2 ways that you can think about this. So I always learned at school tip and times. Some of you might have heard that before. Basically, what it means is exactly what this block is saying. You flip the fraction, and you change the division to a multiplication. That's what tip and times means. Flip the fraction after the division sign, change the division sign to a multiplication. Now, this is one I just recently learned, and I quite like this. I'll use it all the time. KFC is another way to remember this. So K stands for keep the first fraction. So keep the first fraction exactly as it is. It doesn't change at all. If means flip the second fraction. So this is now where we swap it. And fraction, help if I would spell. And C stands for that change of sign. So change the division to multiplication. So if you remember KFC, you will be absolutely fine. So let's apply that here to our 1/5 divided by 3/10. So we keep the first fraction, so 1/5 stays 1/5. I flip the second fraction, so this becomes 10/3, and I change that division to multiplication. That's all we do. And now, because we know how to multiply fractions, we go and do that. We say 1 times 10 in the top, or in the numerator, and 5 times 3 in the denominator. 1 times 10 is 10. 5 times 3 is 15. We always double check if we can simplify. In this case, we know we can because both 10 and 15 can be divided by 5. And so we have got a simplified fraction of 2/3. Right, guys, remember you flip the second fraction. Flip second fraction. So I flip the 3/10. The first fraction stays exactly the same. It doesn't change. So 1/5 stays 1/5. When I say flip, I mean swap the numerator and denominator. So let's maybe just write that in there. So flip means swap the numerator and denominator. So basically what that means is if you had x over y, when you flip it, it becomes y over x. You flip the two. Oops. Alrighty, so once more, keep the first fraction, flip the second fraction, change the division to multiplication. So this division changes to multiplication. That is what KFC stands for. Let's maybe not do that. KFC, keep the first, flip the second, change the sign. Alrighty, Laura, I saw you wanted to, Layla, I saw you wanted to say something. Yes?
Ma'am, when we flip the fractions, is it not called reciprocal?
It is, yeah. It's quite a big word, but yes, you're finding the reciprocal.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. Alrighty, guys. So I'm going to put up another one for you to have a go of. Remember to ask questions if you're not understanding. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just make that a touch smaller so that you can see how we did A. Work off that and try B for me. Remember though that this 4 we want to write as a fraction. Sure. So this is 2 over 7 divided by 4 over 1. So now apply your KFC or apply your tip in times and go and simplify that for me. Right, Gugulethu, there's a reason I didn't use the word reciprocal. It's overcomplicating things. Reciprocal basically means swapped. So swapping your numerator and denominator. Yeah, it's just a fancy way to say a swapped fraction. So don't stress about it. Remember, always double check if you can simplify. Remember, guys, I don't want any hands just yet. And remember, your answer should be fractions, not ratios. We aren't working with ratios, we're working with fractions. Right, would someone like to raise their hand to explain it for me? No. Mpelentle?
Afternoon, ma'am.
Afternoon.
Ma'am, how I got the answer is that 2 over 7 stayed the same.
Good.
And then I changed 4 over 1 to 1 over 4.
Good.
I changed the division sign to the multiplication sign.
Excellent.
And then I multiplied 2. Oh, I multiplied 2 with 1, ma'am.
Good.
And then I multiplied 7 with 4.
Good. So what's 2 times 1?
It's 2, ma'am.
And 7 times 4?
It's 28.
Excellent. Can I simplify that?
Yes, ma'am.
How does it simplify? What does it simplify to?
You divide both the numerator and the denominator with 2.
Excellent. So that becomes
14. 1 over 14, ma'am.
Excellent. Well done. Okay, so guys, there you go. Perfectly explained for you. I don't think I need to go over anything else. I think that was beautifully explained. So we're sorted. Keep the first fraction, flip the second fraction, change your sign. Remember, you could have cross-cancelled if you wanted to. So from this point, you could have said 2 divides into 2 once and into 4 twice. And you would have had 1 over 7 times 1 over 2, which gives you 1 over 14. So same answer either way, but like it really doesn't matter. You need to decide what works for you and you need to then use that method. All right, so I'm going to leave it there for you to screenshot. I want everyone to lower their hands because I want to ask if there's anyone with questions. So everyone lower your hands. Unless you have a question, then leave it up. Alrighty, so if you have a question at this point, raise your hand. Latesh? Nope. Tokolo?
Excuse me, ma'am. Is there a class tomorrow?
So our next class is on Wednesday and it starts at 6 o'clock.
Okay, thank you, ma'am.
Sure. Okay, you can just ignore me. I'm clicking things. Sorry. Umfa? Question?
Ma'am,
Yes.
is there a quiz today?
No, quizzes are on Wednesdays.
Oh,
there's a poll
okay,
today.
thank you. Yes, thank you.
Okay, so guys, just a reminder on that. Quiz days are Wednesdays. Mondays are poll days.
Yippee! Well done, my people. We can do the poll. Hey, teacher Sam.
Yeah.
Okay, guys, you guys really did well. As it's Monday today, apparently it's the Blue Monday. I don't know what do they call them. Yeah. So hopefully you guys learned, and I also learned some of the things. So yeah, let's just vote before we call it a night. Y'all are amazing people, and I love all of y'all. You did really great, and we thank Teacher Sam, right, guys, for an amazing teacher, because we learned. Rotondo, I don't know what is Monday's what, but definitely you can take the poll for me, and then it won't be Monday's blue or Monday's pink. It will be just a proper Monday.
My Monday was chaotic, so let's hope Tuesday is better.
Yeah, we'll see you on Wednesday, guys, and we know that Wednesday will be better. And come with stories, okay, to tell me. So, but you guys really, really did well. And remember, it's our last lesson on fractions, okay? So I hope you are listening. And if you feel like you a bit behind, make sure that you repeat the lessons, okay? Because we already told you that normally, well, every single lesson is recorded. So you can definitely just get there to make sure that you understand everything about fractions. Like this, if you're doing it at school, definitely you'll do it at school. It's just that I don't know when will you do it, but you will do it in your grade, okay? So it will help you to actually pass with flying colors, because teacher Sam already taught you. Okay, so thank you so much, guys. I see that is 100%. And I took my screenshot. Teacher Sam, thank you.
Guys, I just want to remind you, so I see some people saying that they arrived 2 minutes ago. Just remember, our lessons on Mondays and Wednesdays start at 6 o'clock. There is an earlier class at 5 o'clock. It's a slightly slower pace class. So if you feel you would prefer slower pace, then please send through your names to get yourself changed. But our classes start at 6. Okay, so by sort of just before 7 o'clock, we're done. So like Yolanda said, those of you who only just joined, don't stress. You will be able to get the recording tomorrow.